levels behind.
Of Mongolia, and now we're seeing respect bans here. You have the Uranus.
Yep.
And also, Philippines is mostly focused now on the roam choices. We have the Diggy, we have the Frank. We might see Kaja being banned again. We're seeing it might be staple bans. Yes, it is a Kaja. They don't want that penetration or even the backline disabling the security of their own marksman. So opening up the chances here of the Philippines here. Something tells me this could be a setup again for the Novaria.
Yep.
This might be a setup again for the Fanny.
First pick Angela.
First pick Angela. Oh,
okay, that was a Fanny ban.
That was a Fanny. Okay, so this could be a first pick.
There's
Angela.
no way, right? We're not gonna see this again, are we?
Oh, wait. Let's wait for 40 seconds or less. If that would be the next route, or that would be the same thing for the Philippines. So we could either expect Angela or Novaria. Oh, it's happening again.
What? That's what I'm saying. Like, when was the last time that you can remember Angela being first picked?
Yeah.
When?
In my own ranked games, I see Angela first pick, but not in our own professional league. This is different.
Okay, but the last time that they did this, right?
So with this, yeah.
They go Novaria.
Yeah, Philippines will the gamut the Novaria here. Go ahead with the visions. In the choices of the marksman of Mongolia, we've seen them use the Beatrix, we've seen them use the Brody, and a great way also to evade that lethal burst counter for an Esmeralda. Yeah, you just take out the Dairoth.
I think
have a good time in the XP lane.
Yeah, I think too. Mongolia should just maybe consider banning out the Claude. Like, you know, take that out at least, so it just you don't have to deal with possible split pushing.
Either that they are prepared, or they're just willing to let it go, or they take him out, or they take it on for themselves.
Yeah, unless you have confidence enough to deal with it. Like I said, you know, either in the lane or the split pushing itself. Because we didn't even have to get to that point in the previous game, right? It was Recreatiano was just getting there, and it really shined. But they don't opt for that. They actually just go with banning out the Cho here.
Interesting. again, okay. Maybe they have their own way of answering to the problems of game number one. So if they've taken out the Joe, maybe something tells me they don't want that Jeet Kune Do flicker way of the dragon thing in their back line, which was a big problem in game number one. So this sets up a different marksman.
Also have an Esmeralda to deal with. Like, there's so much here. Again, Heartguard paired up with the Lancelot also works really, really well, allowing, even if you're losing some of the neutral objectives, like, you're not in position, knowing that you have Heartguard there just kind of waiting for you, and it comes in right at time as you go in for, let's say, the Turtle or the Lord Steel, you have that extra layer of confidence, you know what I mean?
Just to dive in.
Just to dive in.
Yeah.
So that is something that you have to be aware of if you're Mongolia here.
Okay, now game number two, how will they approach this draft? What will be the execution? But as far as we know, based on numbers, Aizen could have his way of getting retribution out of his Terizla. So let's check how will the emblems be a good match against the Philippines composition.
I mean, even just for what we're seeing from the tier 3, right? Unigo having that focusing mark once again works so well because especially if you tie in the Heart Guard with Seisun, you just have that extra 6% to work with whenever it's procced, right? Now on the other side, Ethan has it too. But you still have to hope that you land those great stampedes. You get the timing on your Cult Altar here. It should work relatively well. You just have to be able to execute that part. And you can see, too, even in that river, just kind of fighting for space there to work with. Little 1v1 here now as we had Forbid back up. There's the emblems.
Yeah, good usage of the Astral Echo, though. So, prevents the way of like continuous using of the Art of Thievery against the Beatrix. So that's one way of aiding the gold lane early on.
Yeah.
And maybe from now, with this Navaria Rome present in the side of Mongolia, things could go their way in amping up the early game. So doing a great start. Doing a great start with this Navaria.
Yeah, I like to, the fact that we saw it there briefly before taking the short pause that ZX Aura running on the Fredrin. He's got the Concussive Blast, right? He's rolling with that for the Tier 3. He's also got the attack speed there for the Tier 2, and then he's got the Vitality for Tier 1. So he's rather tanky, but he's also just hitting faster and proccing, the kit of Fredrin, how he works, and we'll have to see how he builds it out. What build route does he go? Because we've seen some different variations up to this point, especially when we saw Philippines plant Fredrin in the mid lane.
Yep.
I'm not sure, exactly how ZX Aura wants to build it in the jungle. So as that kind of unfolds, it'll be interesting to see how that works because it is a great tool. Fredrin alone is a great tool here to hopefully counterplay into this. And again, you have a lot of CC available to you. The fact, too, that Aizen, the fact that Aizen is also paired with you on the Trizla, right? And you have Fredrin and Trizla, it should be able to set things up. At least if the Philippines is the one to force a situation, then you have the tools that you need to play into it if you have no other option. You know what I mean? And that's penalty zone, and even with having Fredrin there.
And that's the answer for their game number one. How do they catch something as slippery as a Claude? How do they catch somebody as can evade as with the Falling Storm? And even how would you even get that way of like, just stay there until we make that set? So maybe now they're getting a good answer on how to get two members out of the Philippines. Yeah, you're right. Forcing out something, making them react, and going back to our pause here, it's 1 minute in, and we have the focus from the XP lane. We have the Esmeralda and the Trizla. Now going back on our objectives here, and it's just purely Mongolia looking towards of securing the vision in the river.
Well, the fact that, like I said, they have Novaria, vision should be in their favor for the most part, right? It's more so choosing your battles, because you know that every time you do choose whether it's one person you're focusing on or a team fight or skirmish, you got to watch out for the Heart Guard, especially when Inigo gets that level 4. Right now, doesn't have it, but still, as things kind of just get the pacing, get paced here, leading into that first turtle. Cannon, though, going to be in a little bit of trouble, should be just fine. Little pokes back and forth here, but now Turtle is going to spawn in a couple seconds as we see Mongolia get in position. Aizen trying to get that level 4, does have it now. So penalty zone available to him too.
Green lights across the flicker board. Combo here that might come up. Oh, look at that. That's what I'm talking about. Inigo now being forced to back away. Now Cannon trying to hold on. And this is still going slowly.
Okay, so still going to be working for the Turtle. And as they work for it, that's going to be secured. So it works well, right? They get the Turtle starting off with a good part of the early game.
Now going back, Philippines here, getting back on track. So the lead, a bit of a, well, almost 1,000 against Mongolia. Now they need to go back in their own resources to move. Good dodge, though, from Saison. But that is vision being collected by Forbid. That's one thing that you utilize with the Astral Echo. Look at that, being trapped and slowed.
Yeah, Forbid should be fine. He's going to go ahead and regen up. Still focusing on that purple buff. The rotation here important. As you see there too, Bebex though. Heart Guard already on Saison. Should be able to get away. Bebex now has the support of his team. They get the knock up there. Saison will fall. Now going to be looking for Inigo. Do they go? Stampede going to come through. There's the kill cleaned up by ZX Aura. Mongolia able to find kills across the board here now, starting to build their own little lead.
This is the threat now of Mongolia. That 4-man gank and invade onto the member of Team Philippines. This is their nature in the early game. They have vision, they have way of slowing down, they have way to taunt. This is the one we're talking about. They force out something out of the Philippines and get them off guard most of the times in the early game. So now since the Navarre is present for Mongolia, their minds is probably to cross the bridge and have that power spike for this Novaria, and they need to hold it through. And if you want to, in the late game, you need to have the good defense as well. But Team Philippines might be on a state to be on to focus and being disciplined, getting the objectives.
Well, so they're already, you can see this. This is very different from Mongolia this time, right? They've got this nice, 2K gold lead already 4 minutes in. And they have a lead, right? They have this lead. They're going to be working for it, putting the pressure, even in the jungle, which is great. Aizen even just confident enough to plan himself there to try to possibly catch someone out if he can. And it's Mongolia that's setting the pace, which is great to see them do to hopefully get us to a game number 3. Philippines will have to find some answer with this, though. Also just kind of working against the displacement, the vision provided.
Look at Aizen.
Aizen, he's still in that. He's been there for minutes, man. Here he goes. Inigo, he's going to jump in. Penalty zone should be an easy kill. Finds it just like that, all leading it to another Turtle. Going to go and be secured by Mongolia. Bebex, though, going to be in trouble. Perfect. Cultozer comes through with a flicker. They get punished. Bebex will fall. Another one goes down as Ethan falls. Still going to fight it out. Heart Guard comes through. Is it going to be enough to sustain through this? Appraiser's Wrath comes down. He's still alive, but Cannon falls finally as 2 go down for the Philippines.
Talking about stepping out the gas for this Novaria, 3-0-2. Pokes, we're talking about how will this suffice the sustain of an Angela and a Lancelot. Well, force them out, burst them down, and just by looking at the items, you have the magic shoes present for Forbid, and as well as the BOD for Bebex. Now we have the dominance eyes as well. Early start for Mongolia, and this is the confidence that they need. Something to penetrate Philippines here in their own way, and having the chance of the regen, but as well as with the Faramis, I can say just keep on doing it over and over again. Try to isolate the members of Philippines.
Yeah, Eisen, he's cutting that wave up there on the top side, but look, 2 members, he already penalty zone 2, but meanwhile in the bottom lane, Raquitiano will fall. Meanwhile, in the jungle, Eisen, 1 versus 3, basically gonna flicker out after grabbing a kill here. He's on the run. Quite a bit of action on all parts of the map here, OSX.
Yeah, Sora now taunting Archangel.
Oh, still
he
gonna
might
be going.
not survive. Look at the taunt. No, Appraiser's Wrath taking out the life out of that Eve. Now Mongolia trying to gain more coverage of the map this time and gaining more kills onto Eisen and Bebex. Wow, this is the roots of Mongolia going to the comfort picks, getting in and starting strong against Philippines.
This is exactly what Mongolia has to do, right? They're starting. They came out swinging, to be honest. Like they just started right away. They got the lead that they needed. They're maintaining it. So we're almost to that point again where they're going to go ahead and hopefully be able to secure that last turtle. They'll transition to the mid game and late game. Hopefully we get there, and they can hold it together because right now they're the one controlling the pace of the game. And now it's up to the Philippines to respond. But if you're looking, even before we took this pause, there was the action at the bottom where Raquitiano was focused on by, I think it was 3 members, right? But meanwhile, up on the top lane, it was just Eisen versus the world, it seemed like, in the jungle. And he came out with a kill, and then he survived on it. Yeah.
And so look back on how the life drain is just going well with Eisen and Terizla. Looking back on the defensive items on Team Philippines, we just see 1 building up to the dominance Eisen, as well as mostly the offensive items present. We have the Demon Hunter Sword and the War Axe. Mostly on an offense, and this is a build-up that they're trying to do. Finally cross their own way of getting into the mid-game, because right now the Novaria is just having a good power spike. 3-0, a good start for this mage to even activate in the later stages of the game. So the pokes needs to be worried about, but some point in time they can divert how they're rotating macroly. So there's one way, like, trying to pin down mostly of the members of Mongolia.
I think biggest thing here that has to be taken care of if you're a Mongolia is, once again, no matter how this early game is going, it's going great, right? But being aware of what's going on that mid to late game, especially the fact that, yes, you're still working against Raquitiano here on the Claude, even at any point in the game, he could still be putting pressure, right? So you need to be aware of that if you're Mongolia, because as good as the early game is going for them, the macro play, we've been talking about this a lot, OSX, about Philippines and how they've mastered that. And so for Mongolia, the early lead, it's how many kills do they have? I think it's like 10 kills or 11 kills at this point early on. They're doing it, right? But still, can they maintain that into hopefully getting, like I said, these objectives, marching down into the lanes of the Philippines and really taking it to them, because that's kind of what has to happen here. Because as time goes on, and we saw this even just with a specific hero of Novaria, scaling is going to be great for Bid, right? You have it, you can use it, you can utilize that. Philippines, though, has to be very aware of that and deal around it. They have an Eve. Objectively, they should be good. Cannon, though, should be able to get... Okay, he did sprint. He's going to get knocked up here, still trying to survive the best he can. Falling Star Moon to safety. Dodges the Appraiser's Wrath as well. Oh, no. But the shot is going to find him. Cannon and Unigo fall. Man, he was in deep territory cutting.
That 3-man rotation onto Mongolia is going way faster than we thought. Saison, the damage! Receiving from Zora. Massive show of display of damage from that Fredrin.
It's crazy because with as many kills that Mongolia has right now, you'd expect them to be up more gold, right? But this is another objective, still maintaining about 4,000K gold lead. This is great for them. Just continue to choke out these resources as best as you can, because the Philippines is scrambling right now, right? They're really trying. Unigo quite low here too. ZXORA trying to just show face here with the rest of the team, still focusing on that tier 1. Look at Aizen once again. He might make a move. He doesn't have Flicker available though, so he's gonna have to just show up here, get some attention as they work on the tier 1. Gonna not connect with the penalty zone though. The shots from Forbid coming through, plus these sniper shots. They finally get the turret in the tier 1, and they make their eyes set elsewhere. Trying to find the bottom lane. Recutiano, though, should be able to get away just fine.
The peel is so high right now for Mongolia. And looking back on the defensive vitals on Philippines right now, building through the Oracle, we're seeing Cannon getting the Oracle right away to even just sustain. The Esmeralda would be enough to deplete even the health and the shields of Mongolia, but he needs more way of like aiding that shield throughout the game, that they even be invaded. Aizen is trying to have his eyes on the marksman of Philippines. Now they're trying to cover the losses of the camps that they missed against Mongolia.
Okay, there's a massive game here too for Mongolia. I mean, Forbid is just, he's deadly. You know, at this point, even just 8 minutes, 40 seconds into the game, even taking a look at the items here, he's already got what he needs. He's going to be working on that enchanted talisman as well. There is also a golden staff being picked up here by Recutiano, so he's still farming up relatively well. Needs time though. Unigo going to be in trouble. Not sure if the penalty zone was needed, but just to be sure, Aizen getting that kill there. So massive, expected with the Terizla. Purple buff going to be taken also from Saesun here. They're still putting pressure, and Lord is going to be up in about 10 seconds. Yeah,
the threat now of this Terizla 4-0-2. Looking back on how he gives the setups for Mongolia, either you trade with something out of the map, because as we know, 2-14 scoreboard, no turrets being taken down, and still we're seeing a push from Recutiano, giving all of the resources to Mongolia. The mindset here is to get back in the late game, but now the coverage of what Aizen is just doing is becoming a problem for the Claude and Unigo. You're right at the very first part. They keep on forcing the Heart Guard throughout the way that they're being invaded most of the time and slowing down the process of having a great of coming back.
I guess in the question to the, you know, the answer to the question about Angela is Mongolia has found it, right? They really have not let up at all, and this whole combination with the Lancelot and Angela is just not working out for Philippines. Right now, Mongolia is the one setting the pace, and they're continuing onward. Ooh. Lord now is going to be marching with them here. It's going to go bottom side, so we're going to see Mongolia focus on mid lane, at least get the tier 2. We had Aizen up there as well alongside Forbid, and that's also another big item pickup here from Bebex, finally getting that Wind of Nature, and they have plenty of magic resistance as well. This is going to be tough for the Philippines to hold on to. Right now, Mongolia in good position.
Did you see the tear from the Astral Recall, almost half HP from Recutiano? Yeah. And also you have the burst coming from Aizen even for Bebex, so they need to have a sure way of having a great defense with that. Sora
already get in the back line. Pushing them back, penalty zone in the backside. They find Recutiano, they're gonna fall down. Lord already being worked on, Heart Guard on Saesun. Archangel has to flicker out. The turret's finally gonna fall here. Still don't want to press this situation any further, but Saesun, he doesn't want to deal with Aizen here. Aizen is stacked at this point on the Terizla.
There's no deaths onto this Terizla, onto this Fredrin, even onto this Novaria. The gap right now is just too hard to even suffice their damage, even to deflect it. Look at that Astral Recall. And also, one of the ways to slow, probably Philippines is eyeing out to slow them down, trying to divert members of Mongolia right away, because they have more ways of clearing this, okay? They have the Claude still being present, but they can't go out the base just yet.
That's so tough. This is almost like a, in a way, it's like a mirror from what we saw in the previous game in terms of like economy, lead, and everything else. Now Mongolia, about 8,000 gold ahead, just the 12-minute mark, massive in the kill department, and there really is no answer right now for the Philippines. They're just playing to the beat of Mongolia here. Even if you look at the gold earned, right? Bebex is on top. You have Aizen there as well, alongside Forbid. Rakutiano just trying to farm up the most he can, but it's even a risk to be off, you know, to be off on your own farming up, because you know you're going to get collapsed on, or at least even spotted out, right? But still here in the mid lane, they're not afraid to at least get this part of their jungle. They do have to be careful, though, because the tools are in favor for Mongolia. The space is in favor for them.
There's lanes pushing in top, mid, and bottom. The Philippines needs to answer more of this. How will they go and penetrate Bebek's back in their own defense? Because as we see, Sora, he has the taunt. Forbid has a way of slowing them down, getting so much vision for the team. You have Ethan having the Cult Altar present and just looking by the items here, more sustain. You have the Dominance Ice. You have the Radiant Armor plus the Guardian Helmet. A lot of ways to sustain here. But we're seeing still hope for Philippines to fight back and getting the items. But for the damage side, we have 3 physical penetrations from Saison, and also Rakutiano building those damage in. So will the set be enough for Philippines to have against Mongolia, or even target most of the one of the slowest way of like getting that turnaround?
I feel like one of the biggest things here is just dealing with the Cult Altar, man. Like even without that, they were lacking damage for the longest time. So Philippines just kind of scrapping, right? They're really trying to stay in this game right now. Mongolia, though, in a prime position to possibly close this one out as they march down the mid lane. Lord still on the bottom. Cannon going to jump in with the Falling Star Moon, trying to buy a little bit more time here. The rest of the team has to regen up after taking a couple shots. They're quite low. Lord's still going to be working on him. RWM is going to come out, forcing him back a little bit. Mongolia jumps in. Aizen with a massive flicker penalty zone play. Cult Altar there too. Can they clear it out? The Philippines can't. We're going to a game 3.
Finally getting the first point out of the Philippines through their run.